My name is Victoria Hayes, and I am 32 years old. Have you ever been told you weren't good enough by someone who should have believed in you the most? Imagine dedicating years of your life to a family business, sacrificing weekends, holidays, and countless opportunities, only to have your own brother tell you that you didn't belong there. Now imagine watching him say it in front of the entire company, convinced nobody would challenge him. What happened next shocked everyone in the room, including me. Because while my brother thought he controlled my future, the board of directors had a very different opinion. I grew up in a family that revolved around business. My grandfather started Hayes Manufacturing in a small warehouse nearly 50 years ago. Through hard work and determination, he transformed it into a successful regional company. My father eventually took over leadership, and from the time my brother Ethan and I were children, everyone assumed one of us would someday lead the company. Actually, that is not entirely true. Everyone assumed Ethan would lead it. He was the oldest child. He was the son. And according to many relatives, that automatically made him the natural successor. I was rarely included in those conversations. When family members discussed the company's future, they spoke about Ethan's potential. When I expressed interest in learning the business, people smiled politely and changed the subject. Fortunately, my father viewed things differently. He believed leadership should be earned. Because of that, both Ethan and I were given opportunities to learn. During high school, we worked summer jobs inside the company. While Ethan spent most of his time networking and introducing himself to executives, I worked on the factory floor. I learned production processes. I learned inventory management. I learned how every department functioned. The work was difficult, but I loved it. After college, Ethan joined the company immediately. I accepted a position elsewhere first. I wanted outside experience before entering the family business. For 6 years, I worked for a larger corporation. I learned operations, finance, logistics, and leadership. Eventually, my father invited me to join Hayes Manufacturing as an operations manager. I accepted. At first, things went smoothly. Employees respected me because I understood the work. I spent time listening to staff members. I looked for ways to improve efficiency. Within 2 years, productivity increased significantly. Several expensive operational problems were solved. The board noticed. Customers noticed. Employees noticed. Unfortunately, Ethan noticed too. The more recognition I received, the colder he became. At meetings, he interrupted me. He dismissed my suggestions before hearing them. If a project succeeded, he minimized my contribution. If anything went wrong, he highlighted it immediately. At first, I assumed sibling rivalry was responsible. Over time, I realized the problem ran deeper. Ethan genuinely believed the company belonged to him. Not because he had earned it, because he believed it was his birthright. As our father approached retirement, discussions about succession became more serious. The board wanted a long-term leadership plan. Investors wanted stability. Employees wanted clarity. Everyone knew a decision was coming. Then something happened that accelerated everything. My father suffered a minor health scare. Thankfully, he recovered quickly. But the incident reminded everyone that leadership transitions could not wait forever. The board scheduled a strategic planning meeting. Senior executives attended. Department leaders attended. Several board members joined as well. The atmosphere was professional, but tense. Everyone knew succession would be discussed. Halfway through the meeting, one board member asked an important question. Who is best positioned to lead the company over the next decade? The room became quiet. Then Ethan spoke. At first, he sounded confident. But as he continued, his comments became increasingly personal. He explained why he believed he should become CEO. That part was expected. Then he turned toward me. What he said next stunned the room. He claimed I lacked the instincts required for leadership. He said I was better suited for support roles. Then he laughed slightly and said something I will never forget. Victoria doesn't really belong in the future of this business. For a moment, nobody spoke. I sat completely still. Part of me felt angry. Another part felt embarrassed. Not because I believed him, because he was willing to humiliate me publicly. Ethan continued speaking. He argued that leadership should remain traditional. He suggested clients would feel more comfortable with him. He implied that I lacked the authority necessary to guide the company forward. Every word made the room more uncomfortable. Eventually, he finished. The silence that followed felt endless. Then the chairman of the board cleared his throat. He looked directly at Ethan. "Are you finished?" Ethan nodded confidently. The chairman then turned toward the rest of the board. One by one, members began sharing their perspectives. The first board member praised my operational improvements. Another highlighted revenue growth connected to initiatives I led. A third discussed employee retention. A fourth mentioned customer satisfaction metrics. The conversation continued for nearly 20 minutes. Throughout the discussion, a clear pattern emerged. The board respected results, and the results overwhelmingly supported me. Finally, the chairman addressed the room again. He explained that succession planning should be based on performance, leadership, and vision. Not assumptions. Not family hierarchy. Not tradition. Performance. Then he made an announcement nobody expected. The board had already completed an independent leadership evaluation. Executives, managers, and employees had participated. Client feedback had been reviewed. Operational performance had been analyzed. The findings were clear. According to the evaluation, I ranked first in leadership effectiveness across the organization. First. Not second. Not tied. First. I looked around the room in shock. Ethan looked even more shocked than I was. The chairman continued. The board had unanimously recommended me as the company's next CEO once my father retired. The room erupted into applause. For a moment, I could barely process what was happening. Years of hard work. Years of being underestimated. Years of proving myself. Suddenly, they mattered. Ethan sat silently. For the first time in my life, he had no argument. The decision was based on measurable results. Facts do not care about ego. After the meeting ended, several employees approached me. Many admitted they had been hoping the board would choose me. Others thanked me for listening to their concerns over the years. One longtime manager said something that stayed with me. Leaders earn trust before they earn titles. That sentence perfectly captured the situation. Ethan wanted authority. I wanted responsibility. There is a difference. Over the following months, the transition process began. My father worked closely with the board to prepare for retirement. I spent countless hours planning future initiatives. Meanwhile, Ethan struggled to accept the decision. At first, he complained privately. Then, he questioned the evaluation process. Eventually, he requested additional reviews. Every review produced the same conclusion. The board's decision was correct. To his credit, something surprising happened afterward. Ethan slowly began changing. Without automatic access to leadership, he finally focused on improving his skills. He started listening more, learning more, contributing more effectively. For the first time, he stopped assuming success was guaranteed. 2 years later, our relationship improved significantly. Not because the conflict disappeared, because reality forced honesty. He could no longer pretend the company belonged to him, and I no longer felt obligated to seek his approval. When my father officially retired, the board confirmed my appointment as CEO. Standing in front of employees during my first company-wide address, I remembered everything that had led to that moment. The doubts, the dismissive comments, the assumptions. Most of all, I remembered the day my brother said I did not belong in the family business. He believed his opinion would define my future. Instead, it revealed his insecurity. The board saw what he refused to see. Leadership is not determined by birth order. It is not determined by gender. It is not determined by who speaks the loudest. Leadership is earned through trust, consistency, and results. My brother said I didn't belong in the family business. In the end, the people who mattered most disagreed. And that made all the difference.